Hey there, me again. Did I mention that we'd love for you to like and share this video and subscribe to our channel because we have a lot of good stuff still to come. And how great would it be to create some community around this conversation? Take a moment to share your comments, your insights, and your thoughts in the comment section below, where you'll also find a few additional resources we've created for you. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to this edition of Reality Check Conversations. I'm Tanya Trivoni. I have Lisa Mitchell back with me today. We spoke with Lisa in another video around leading courageously, and if you hadn't had a chance to check that out, you should. Lisa is a former executive. She's a business coach. She's a facilitator. She's a keynote speaker. You can read all about Lisa in the link below this video. And today we've brought her back to talk about ways that we can help sustain employee engagement in this time of change and transition. Lisa, thanks for joining us for another conversation.
My pleasure, Tanya. Thanks for having me back.
Great. So as we are looking to transition out of this COVID-19 situation, there's still a lot of challenges in front of us. And one of those is how do we sustain and, dare I say, even boost employee engagement given all the uncertainty, the change, and the turmoil. I know you have some thoughts and strategies for leaders around this.
Yes, it's interesting because I work with a few leaders in my coaching practice and know many others. And it's fascinating right now because I think people are really running into a variety of different issues when it comes to engagement. So in one case, I can think of a client and she's exhausted. She's working more hours than she ever did, even though she's at home. And she's trying to juggle her kids, and her employees are saying the same thing. So their workload hasn't gone down at all. It's, if anything, it's gone up. So it's really, they're engaged because they're busy. The engagement, the energy around it, though, isn't necessarily healthy. And then on the other hand, I know a couple people where, they're struggling a little bit with, they want to keep people engaged around the work and productive, and yet they're working at half capacity in terms of what's coming at them. So there's this fear about make work projects and all sorts of things coming into play.
Oh, wow. So you got completely two ends of the spectrum, one which had the risk of burnout and the other one sort of lethargy or just lack of motivation. You're just not good enough.
And it's interesting because often I find when people, talk about it, I think we know fundamentally what employee engagement is, right? Is that we feel engaged and we choose willingly to come to work and put our best effort forth. And at the same time, when I hear people talking about it in practical terms recently, it's more around sort of the productivity, the doing of the work. And I think it's important to remember that we've got to really, in my opinion, follow the principles of change management here, because we're going through a really massive, unprecedented change. We're all coping and juggling with new things in our routines. So whenever I talk to leaders about change management, there are three key principles that I thought I could outline for you and the audience. Key things to remember are involve people as much as you can, provide context, and acknowledge where they're at. Really important. So it's not just about, hey guys, yeah, we're up against a whole lot here and we've got to really turn on a dime and figure out this technology and pump it out, right? That's different. We've actually got to step back and first connect on the level of, let's acknowledge, things are different and it feels a bit uncomfortable and we're dealing with uncertainty, right? Tell me a bit about where you're at. So being able to really connect on a human level before we rush into business. Now you look like you were about to say something.
No, I was just going to ask you to repeat the three things just one more time. So it was involve, and then the last one was acknowledge, and the one in the middle was
provide context.
Provide context. Yeah, that's great. So, did you have a couple of examples for us around some of those?
Yeah. So, in terms of context, I think, often there's decisions being made very, very rapidly, right? As everybody tries to figure out what this new abnormal is. And there's been layoffs, there's been people furloughed, there's been roles changed, there's been all sorts of things going on and so on. And much of it negative for sure. I don't think we have to sugarcoat it. I think we have to be upfront and help people understand the context behind the decisions. Because if we do not do that, then we run the risk of people, they will go negative. They'll make all sorts of assumptions and tell themselves stories in the absence of information. So providing enough context that they get, this not just that this was a difficult decision, for instance. We want you to know what we've done to help the people that have been furloughed, for instance. It might be something like that. And get into enough detail that people really feel and understand that yes, there was effort made, that this wasn't a decision taken lightly, for instance. Even if it's just a new process, right? I had a leader the other day who, decided that her team didn't want to be on camera for their meetings. She decided they needed to be. So she gave some context around why that was important. And it was really, really well received.
I think that's really, really important, especially as we look to, we're kind of forced to operate differently. And I know in the previous video that you had with us, you talked about vulnerability. And I think having the opportunity to explain how and why decisions get made are important, because leaders are having to make decisions in the absence of information and take some real calculated risks right now. So I imagine that's already very challenging. So then if you have people making stories about whether those decisions are right or wrong because they're missing the context, then it'll have certainly a negative impact on engagement.
Yeah, it's interesting because I also think that we're all getting a much bigger window into other people's realities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Into our homes. And then we're reading about how different people are impacted by the pandemic. And so I think it's easy to think we get it just based on surface information. Like my dad he lives with me, and he'd been reading about the issue with PSWs, personal support workers in Ontario, being told that they can only work during this time at one long-term care center and not two. And he said, but why wasn't it the case already? I mean, come on, this is logical. If they're 4 hours in one home and 4 hours in another, and then there's another employee that has the same thing, why not just give them each an 8-hour shift? And what he doesn't understand, and I come from that industry, so I do, is that those two employees may not work at the same two homes. They might only have one in common. He did not have that context. So it was easy for him to think, I have the magical solution, and why don't they see it? So this is where we can't forget that we may have been carrying a decision or a change for some time, and the people we're communicating to do not have the advantage of having had time to hear it first and digest and travel with it the same as we have.
Yeah, time being a big one, because we've had to change and move so rapidly.
Yeah, it's really been a bit nuts, like waves and waves of change. So the other thing too is so that was acknowledge, provide lots of context, and then there's this involvement piece. So sometimes leaders will say to me, Lisa, that sounds great, but I can't, like the decision's made, I can't involve people. I have to just tell them and we get on with it. I'm going to make sure they're getting the work done. And I don't buy that entirely. I think that we need to be creative, and we need to figure out what are some ways that we can engage people in what's going on to create small wins. If it's not around a decision, engage them in making the decision. It's in how the decision will impact them and processes. So, and timelines and how it fits into their day. So wherever we can give choice, and we can invite people to speak up and let us know what would work best for them in terms of whatever we're being asked to do, the better. Nobody likes to be told what to do. They just don't, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. And in an environment where I think we feel like so many of our choices have been taken from us, anywhere that you can involve, where you can give control, give people a voice, I think that definitely more important than ever.
Yeah. Not the time to take our foot off the gas on that one.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, thank you for summing them up in some 3 very distinct and succinct strategies. I have a last question that I like to ask at the end of these conversations, and it's around what you're grateful for right now during this environment. What's coming up for you that's been, I guess, a positive?
For me, it's been this odd sense of creativity that I've been tapping into, and I don't know where it's coming from. And, you know, the last video where we were talking, you know, I'd mentioned gratitude, and perhaps it's coming from that. I've been baking and cooking in a different way, and exercising in a different way, and writing in a different way. You know, it's been really kind of interesting that I find this creativity coming out of me, and I see it coming out of my son and my husband. And it's, I don't know if other people are noticing that, but I'm really grateful for it.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I think I would say that the same is true for me. Just sort of now at the beginning, I think it was more challenging, but now I'm getting into a new flow, and I think tapping into a new energy. So I can definitely relate to that. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And this concludes this edition of Reality Check Conversations. Please take a moment to share this video if you got something of value, and to subscribe to our channel so that you get future editions. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of the day.